No, my lawyer said I can't be Stevie Nicks. I'm just a generic, non-specific look-alike.
And here we are. Welcome to the generic, non-specific Stevie Nicks podcast. I'm your co-host, Randy.
And I'm Anthony, and it's so great to be here. And thank you for joining us today, listeners and viewers. Like, share, tell your
Yeah,
grandma, all that stuff. Thank you.
that's right. Like, share, subscribe. When we were doing our Rumors episodes and I was doing some research, I came across this article from Rolling Stone in 1978. And I wanted to read a bit of it and see if you remember this at all. Okay? You ready?
Ready?
When Fleetwood Mac released Rumours last year, critics praised its polish, radio embraced its sheen, yet something elemental felt absent. Stevie Nicks quietly withdrew her material from the track list. Dreams, Goldust Woman, Silver Springs, and her lyrical architecture for the chain, all removed. Fleetwood Mac scrambled. Additional tracks by Buckingham and McVie were recorded to stabilize the album. The result was cohesive and elegant, but cautiously restrained. A success, not a phenomenon. To quote Stevie Nicks, it wasn't about revenge, it was about ownership.
Didn't happen. Am I having a Mandela effect? Is there a
It is.
cornucopia with Nelson Mandela here with Berenstain
Okay,
Bears?
yes. So it did not happen that way, but it could have.
So today we're going to travel through the multiverse to the timeline where Stevie Nicks was told Silver Spring wouldn't be on the album and quit on the spot,
That's right.
refusing to take part for Rumours or be in the band anymore.
Yes. So what would
So
that have looked like?
Randy and I have independently come up with that. Stevie, let's say we're going on the premise that Warner Brothers, to placate her as well as Fleetwood Mac, gave her a one album solo deal to make an album in the same time frame as Rumours, basically. And so we have both come up with the concept of what that album would be. And so today we're going to tell you the album name, we have album art, and we're going to go through the track listing. Randy,
That's
when you
right.
were picking your tracks, did you have any rules for yourself?
I did. I had several rules. So, firstly, the songs had to be compositions that were written around that time frame. I played a little fast and loose with it, but it's like 76, 77, 78, right? Like around that time.
And as your article alluded, it took time for them to get to a place where everything was
Yeah,
sorted anyway, right?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So,
Legally and yeah.
right, all of the legal, and so that was another thing. I went ahead and used some already recorded tracks from Rumors. I also looked at the limitation of vinyl because if that was the reason Silver Springs was kicked off the record, I wasn't going to go and make a 90-minute album, you know, uh, for this hypothetical. Um, I also, when I built my playlist, which I've been listening to for a week while we've been preparing for this, I purposefully picked recordings that were done in that same time frame of like 76, 77, 78. I think there's one that's actually outside of that, but I can't be sure. And I'm sure our listener out there will
Sure.
correct us.
Someone's going to correct us on something. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it was
yeah.
similar. My rule was I had to be pretty sure it was written before 1978. The other rule I gave myself, I made one exception, was I didn't want to interrupt any of her existing solo albums. Those still happened
Okay.
in my rules. I realized a little while ago that one of the songs I picked is actually outside by a couple of years. So right before I regret to inform everyone that this track stubbornly insists on being written in 1980. However, in the spirit of Randy's penchant for not following the rules on these things, I am in, I am invoking the one-time Stevie Nicks Temporal Adjustment Act, and I am going to keep it in my track listing.
I think
So
that is perfectly
somebody out there
fair.
is like, that song is from 1980. She wrote it in April when her chihuahua had a baby. Put in the comments all you want. I will not be responding.
Oh my God. I now I'm picturing Stevie with a chihuahua.
Okay,
Uh,
so
okay.
do you want to kick it off by revealing your album name and then talking about your concept a little?
Yeah. Okay. And we're just going to talk about the album name and the
First,
concept.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I had a couple of criteria for choosing the album title because Stevie always names her albums after one of the songs, right? Like she always has a title track. So it had to be a song that was on the track list. And because uh, I think that Warner Brothers marketing would be all over the fact that Silver Springs was the impetus for her leaving, that they would capitalize on that, and the album would be named Silver Springs. Ding
Oh,
ding
it's
ding ding.
cool.
Thank you very much.
It's interesting. You're gonna see. I did cover art for mine as well, so Randy will see that.
Okay,
Again, we don't know each other's track listing. I just heard the album cover for the first time. I'm looking
right.
at. I love that image. I love. It's kind of like uh very atmospheric and I don't know, kind of goth, but she's cool and she's beautiful and all that. I like it a lot, Randy. That's really cool.
Thank you. The only
But
thing that I didn't like was like I think I could have done a better job on the font. Like the font is a little generic for a Stevie Nicks album. I always like her
yeah.
fonts.
So I don't know what you did. I picked my images myself
Hmm.
and then I used AI to put the title. So I didn't choose
Okay.
the fonts. So I accepted them. But yours is okay. It's funny. I think mine is pretty similar. When we look, you can tell me. But that's cool.
Okay. Well,
She's
then it
beautiful.
is my turn. I want to see what did you
Well,
decide for an
first,
album name?
that I was leaning into what happened to make this happen
Okay.
more generically than the song, right? And I know you're right that she names her albums mostly about, I think all,
Yeah.
but I decided on the title Gone With Me. I
Okay.
decided that she was communicating, we know that, in our timeline where she's been there forever, she had a fierce loyalty to the idea of this band, right?
Yes.
So if she was going to leave, she wasn't happy about it. And she knew that it was going to hurt them as well as it might hurt her, but she was going to do it anyway. And so all of her input, all of the things she knew she could have contributed that they would have benefited would be gone with her. So Gone With Me is the name of my concept.
I like that. I like the reasoning behind it. I think because in this hypothetical, it's her first solo album. Maybe she
Right.
doesn't, maybe she doesn't start that trend of naming her albums after songs.
Yeah.
I'm looking at
It was
the
trauma. That's the way I looked at it. This whole situation
okay.
was trauma, you
Yes.
know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So if it really had happened, there'd probably be tracks that were brand new, right? But we're not
Oh,
going there,
yeah,
right? We're
absolutely.
trying, and
Yeah.
one thing from the setup, Randy, is we both made playlists, folks. We're going to share them with you, but they're placeholders. Some of them might be the final one, but I imagine they would record this album from scratch with a producer.
Hmm.
Dreams wouldn't be the dreams we know, et cetera, et
Right.
cetera. But
Right.
Randy, why don't you
And
pop open my album cover?
yeah, I'm
And
looking at it
okay,
right
and I have
now.
it up on the screen.
Okay. Now, number one, I like your font better since we're gonna go with that font thing.
Okay,
But I really like the what I find interesting is that both of our covers are black and white.
right, right,
Both of them look a little aged.
right,
Um, and I like the way that she's sitting and kind of pondering. I mean, it looks like she is kind of
right,
processing that trauma.
right. And
And
the new world. I'm no
yeah,
longer going to be part of a band. It's just me, and here I
yep,
go. And then
yeah,
the silhouettes on the side are leaving, right?
right,
They're
yeah.
I don't know if
I
that's
mean
too good.
that's a
No.
really good concept. That is a really, really good concept.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. Uh,
Okay.
uh,
And
okay.
and like Randy, Randy made me do math. My songs will fit on a vinyl 12-inch LP, but I didn't want to do math. But I was just going to do 10 songs, but then I listened to Randy and it made me have to switch some of my track listing, but I'm really happy.
Okay, then let's start with your side A, and let's talk through it.
Okay, so you should see it on the screen of viewers. And so I'm leading with the one I know is going to be a
Yep.
radio monster and perform well, right? Dreams. Like we
Uh-huh.
all know that, this song would connect with people, right?
Yep.
And so to me, it was a no-brainer that someone would get that album, drop the needle on it, and hear that start and go, wow, Stevie Nicks is something. And so I
Wow.
went to
I love
it.
this track list.
And then, the spoilers, we know, we saw a little bit with Rhiannon, but we know that she's going to lean into the mystical and ethereal and all that. So I wanted to put Sorcerer as track two to say, yeah, that was a little funky, maybe R&B, nice little pop tune, Dreams, but kabam,
Right.
kabam.
Right.
Sorcerer is setting the stage for some more that's coming later. And then I had to put Golden Braid on here, Randy. And
That makes
honestly,
me so happy.
when I heard the one flow into the other, Sorcerer flow into, at first I was like, no, but when I heard it, I was like, nah, that's it. I
Yep.
don't know.
No,
And
I like it. I like it. I like it.
okay. And then I decided, again, that's a very, all of these are pretty emotional songs. And
Hmm.
um, so I was, but mid to up tempo, right? So I
Hmm.
was like, let's slow it down. Let's show them the literary Stevie. That's what she wants them to
Yeah.
see. So I decided to drop in Garbo,
Yep. Okay.
right? Again, to slow
Yep.
it down. And again, it kind of then it does also speaks to the sorcerer like mysticism thing again. And again,
Hmm.
that Stevie's poetry and her, I wanted to, I wanted Mabel Normand to be from this time frame so bad.
Boom.
But it was not.
No, but here's the thing. Garbo is really about loneliness.
Right.
And
Correct.
and here she is
And
leaving the
she's
band and
alone,
she's right and she's alone.
which segues to the last out song on the first side. Think
Yep.
about it, which we all know
Yep.
she wrote it for Christine because Christine was talking about leaving Fleetwood Mac. And she
Yep.
was trying to go, well, you should think about it. But when I listened to it in the context of this fantasy album,
Right.
it's totally
Yeah.
different, right? It's
Yeah.
more like almost sarcasm to me. So, like you said, Randy, she's, I'm alone in Garbo and blah, blah, blah. And now it's like, remember that loyalty I had to all you guys that you
Hmm.
betrayed me? The heart
Yeah.
says danger when I think about leaving. No, the heart says whatever.
Right. Yes.
Guys
Yeah.
don't deserve me. I've thought about it and I am out of here. And I decided that was the perfect end for side one, that kind of thought.
I love this track listing. I think this is awesome. So here's something we didn't talk about before you revealed it, but I'm curious. Number one, who do you think's producing this album?
I was wondering about that too. Like, you're way more knowledgeable than I. Like, who existed and who did she know yet, that she
Right.
could rely on? And what's his name? Calicut? I wondered if he could disentangle himself from Fleetwood
Right.
Mac or if he could work that out with the legal folks in a way that he could do both, or, how many of the Eagles did she know? Or
Right. I mean,
I
she was
didn't know
kind
her
of hanging with the
resources.
Eagles. Yeah,
Right.
there's definitely a few contenders. It could have been Don Henley. It could have been Ken Kelly. There was a musician, Tom Moncrief, that worked with her a lot on
Okay.
her demos through
Okay.
Fleetwood Mac. And I think somebody correct me, but I think he was either involved in Buckingham Nicks or he was around during the Buckingham Nicks, and Stevie relied on him a lot, so much to that if he worked on a song of hers, Lindsay would almost immediately veto it for a Fleetwood Mac album. So I could see that. So I went with, well, I'll tell you when we get to my songs.
Well,
Um,
I will go with in a fantasy world, because Randy knows that in addition to Dreams is the number one R&B song of all time, I've always regretted that during her career, Stevie didn't like have a rap feature by someone like
Yeah.
Common or
Hmm.
Q-Tip, or even later, like imagine uh Bombay Sapphire with a rap feature from Chance the Rapper, if he was around then. I don't know. So at this time, rap's not really a thing, right? So that couldn't happen. But I wondered, what if Berry Gordy produced some of her songs? Or one of the Motown guys, the big, names back then.
Excuse me, but Prince just entered the chat.
But was he on the scene in the 77?
He
Or
was
was he?
in 78. He was just starting to get his record deal. He was going to Fleetwood Mac concerts. He actually had talked
Oh,
about
okay.
how Fleetwood Mac was an influence on
I'm down.
him,
I'm down.
right?
I'm down.
And I could see, and he was on the Warner Brothers label, and I could
I'm that.
see
See,
them
I'm
plucking him
ready.
and saying, "Hey, before you do your uh, music, let's see
I
you
want to
prove
move
your
to the other
worth."
universe now, please. Thank
Right?
you.
Exactly. And I didn't even think about that. Now I want to go back and redo
And then
my
they got
album.
married, and he's still alive, and they're working together.
Right? Oh, and they can share wardrobe because they're both wearing
Exactly. They are
lace.
probably the same height, right? All right. So that's my side one. At first I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but actually I was pretty proud of this once I put it together.
Yeah.
And
Oh
I,
God, I
I, I
love it.
listened to it a few times and I've enjoyed the flow. But like
Yeah.
I said earlier, like I picked versions of it just to fill. I know Randy was like, probably for 20 minutes, like, which version of this song shall I put on my playlist? And I was like, oh, there's Dreams Click, you know? Except for my last track, which I
Hmm.
specifically chose, and we'll talk about that later.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So now let's do mine. It's interesting to see where we converge and where we separate. Okay, so here we go. My side A starts with, oh, first of all,
Hmm.
my album is produced by Jimmy Iovine because he was around producing Tom Petty at the time anyway.
That
And
makes sense, but I was trying to think of what the options were, and that's where I couldn't
yeah,
really. But I'm
yeah,
sorry, it
yeah,
was Prince. I'm sorry, it's Prince. Prince did mine, everybody. Prince
yeah.
did
I'm
gold.
saying Prince did yours.
Yeah.
Prince definitely did yours. Okay, so side A, it starts with Think About It for almost exactly the same reasons that you ended side one with yours. I was like, that's a really good declarative way to start her album and really address her leaving the band immediately. It should also be noted that I did pick specific recordings uh, to
I know you
track
did.
this.
We've met.
And so this is actually the Fleetwood Mac, version of Think About It, which is really funky and I really like. And so I think it's a great way to kick the album off with something really punchy and really address the fact that she's leaving the band. And when you listen to it in the context of her leaving the band too, it really is more about self-reflection and less about Christine McVie. But
Absolutely, all about it. Right. Yeah.
right.
In this context, yeah. Whatever.
Right, exactly. And then the next track is, of course, Silver Springs, because I think not she had to put it on the album, and then Warner's
Of
was going to
course.
capitalize on it. And the
Of
version that I
course.
picked, which is on one of the Rumors reissue, is is the Fleetwood Mac recording, but it's only her vocal. There is no Lindsay vocal, there's no Christine vocal, and
Sure.
it's really intense with her by herself. And I love that. So I think that's great. And then we have Stevie's version of The Chain, which is starts to get a little bit more mellow. And I like that as well. And then the Fleetwood Mac version of Sleeping Angel that I had mentioned in the Rumors Part Two. I think this was recorded in 78. I'm
Okay.
not sure. But again, I love the instrumentation of it. I think it's beautiful, and I love hearing Stevie's 1977,
And
78
it fits the
voice
time frame,
sing.
even if it was a year later or whatever. It fits sonically. It fits the
Right,
time frame. You know,
right.
it's interesting. Yeah, I didn't want to go and think about it first because I was trying to go like, Dreams is who is, setting up the conflict that happened with Mac, but that it's about Lindsay, it's romantic, everybody gets that. And then Sorcerer's like, this is who I am. Golden Braid is then more like I'm going on a journey. Like, I'm figuring it out. Garbo is like you said, oh, this is all about me. I'm doing this
Right.
alone. And then think
Yes.
about it is like, I'm not I contemplated it for a minute or two, and then I
Hmm.
decided, no, I'm done. What they did to me warranted me to not give them my energy and space anymore. That's kind of how
Right.
the flow. That's why I didn't want to make it first, you know?
Well, that makes sense. I put Sleeping Angel to close side one for two reasons. Number one, it's a really pretty ballad to kind of, like taper off the end, but it's
Yeah.
also very forward looking because she wrote it about Paul Fishkin, who was the record
Correct.
executive that she met that had convinced her to do a solo career in the first place. And
Okay.
I kept thinking, so, the story goes that Rumors was almost finished. She was down in Acapulco for a record industry convention, and that's where she met Paul Fishkin. And she played him Rumors, and she was talking about how frustrated she was about Silver Springs and all of this stuff. And that's when he started planting the seed of you should do a solo career. And I kept thinking that's the transition point. And if that conversation had just gone a
Okay.
little different, she would have come back
Gotcha.
from Acapulco and said, I quit. I've got a record deal, like the whole
Right.
thing.
So you only
So,
have 4 tracks on side one.
yeah,
Okay.
yep. So those are my four tracks. Uh, and then I have, well, I'll tell you when we get to side B. Oh, that's right. So it's my turn to go first. So we're going to
Sure.
go to side B, and we open with Randy's favorite. And I think this was actually well, it was recorded for Rumors, but no, I haven't found a recording of it. So the recording I picked is from Tusk, and it's 1978, so I think it fits. And it's not my favorite version, but as I've listened to this over the last few days, I've really grown to appreciate the Tusk version of Smile at You. And I picked that for an opener for two reasons. One is it's a really good punchy way to open something. And I felt like Stevie would have put it on the album because Lindsay was like, no, we already have a mean song and it's Go Your Own Way, and we're not doing another one. And she's like, well, Mr. Buckingham, Exhibit A, we're going to smile at you. So I liked that. Then, of course, another one of my favorites, which is Planets of the Universe. And I did use the Fleetwood Mac recording for this, but like we said, I, I think I think this is the song Jimmy Iovine would have done some magic with and done something a little bit different. And I don't know what that is. It would not be the Trouble in Shangri-La version, obviously, but I think even though on my playlist it's a mid-tempo number, I think it would be a little punchier. So we have two big punchy numbers. And then If You Ever Did Believe, which she wrote about Mick Fleetwood. And I think that was a great, another like screw you to the band of like, you don't want to put this on your album. Well, I'm going to put it out on there. And, this is not just about her independence. It's also about her being able to tell a lot more of her story from the Rumors sessions than she was able to tell with the songs that she had. And then I put Dreams near the end.
Interesting.
And again, it's an outtake. It's not the finished studio version. But I think that it would live right there close to the end of side B. I always think that Stevie's side Bs are a little weaker than her side As, so I tried to punch up the side B of this album by holding back some of the more important songs for side B, and I thought Dreams was important and would be a good anchor for side B. And then of course I just couldn't do it. I couldn't leave Gold Dust Woman off. I couldn't do it. It needed to be on there. I did an outtake version that's not the finished studio version. So when you listen to my playlist, it sounds like a work in progress. And
Okay.
that's what I
There you
wanted
go.
to kind of feel like,
Because Prince didn't get there yet. I
because
understand.
Prince didn't get there yet. And I could see in this alternate universe, we're gonna pretend that the internet is already around in 1977, and Rolling Stone as a sidebar is like, listen to the album in progress on rollingstone.com, and then
Oh,
all of
cool.
these demos and
Okay.
stuff are on there. So that's my album. So I want to
That's
hear.
cool. I will listen to your album. I want to listen to your album.
Okay.
Um, Dreams, I'm surprised, because my goal for Stevie is to like get a hit, and that would be a hit. So I'm surprised, you know, that you would place it so late in the sequence. What does that say to the person listening, or doesn't it, in your point of view? Like, it's deprioritized. You know what I mean? I think like that, but maybe the average person doesn't. And we've said this a million times on this podcast. Randy is such I don't want to say it. The philosophy of track order is very important to him. You know, I don't think about it that much unless I stop and go, oh, right, I should think about it. I know a lot of people are like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a masterpiece, track order. I don't think that way often. So, you know,
Oh, well, no, I get that. And yeah, especially because in this day and age, the running order for albums is so important. And when like Taylor Swift puts out an album, track number one is the first single,
a hit.
Harry
Right.
Styles,
Yeah.
but back then it wasn't as important to put to front load the album. And so I wanted to, and again, make sure that side B had the same weight as side A did. And because you were
Gotcha.
listening on vinyl and you have to listen to all of the songs, it really punches up the ending of the album for me. What is your
So
side
before you,
B?
you we'll put it up on the
I
screen. Go ahead and look, Randy. And while you're looking,
okay.
I'll just say, you have to remember, think about it as the last track on the first, and it's on
Yes.
purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was trying to think about, the listener is suspended in that moment that she's talking about deciding to leave, and she left. And they're going to take a breath and they're going to
Mm-hmm.
flip the record over. I wanted side B to be an emotional shift from that
Yes.
contemplative deciding
Okay.
moment. Because again, think about it was, this was all an illusion. We were never that tight, for
Right.
her.
Yeah.
The way I think about it.
Yeah.
Um, so what I did was I decided to throw a hand grenade as track one and put Silver Springs there.
Okay.
You know,
Yeah.
it's going back to the betrayal.
Yep.
Again, I'm always down for a blaming Lindsay for everything moment, you know.
Yes.
But
Well,
in
you've
this
got several
context,
right there. Yeah.
right? In this context, it's not just Lindsay, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
all of them. Though in
Right.
my fantasy world, she does invite Christine to work on a couple of her studio albums, and then in their 50s they go on the McVie Nicks tour together and they do an album. But
I, I will answer that in a minute. I will answer that in a
okay,
minute, but let's
so
keep
yeah, so I
going.
threw
Yeah.
Silver Springs on there because we had this little quiet contemplative moment, and now it's like kabam.
Right.
And again, I'm not just going to haunt Lindsay. I'm going to haunt all of you MFers,
Uh-huh. Yep.
etc. Now the next one is the one where I had to invoke the Stevie Nicks temporal act. So
I'm glad that you did. I'm really
I
glad that you
wanted to
did.
have something jaunty and up tempo and rocky right after that moment. But and this song is about then, it's kind of flipping the script because this now is about love and loyalty. It's about her
Right.
mother and a relationship that would never betray her, never turn on her, always make her feel accepted and loved, and would never take Silver Springs off her album, right? So I
Yeah.
thought that little pause of a moment was important, especially given the song that's coming next, which is one of
Right.
Randy's. Randy thinks that before she was born, Taylor Swift possessed Stevie Nicks to help write this song. you know,
Well, I think
Violate
that
you. Um,
Stevie influenced Taylor Swift is what
well, once she
happened.
was born, return the favor. Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yes, so I wanted to throw again another moment of like, I'm done with you people. You
Hmm.
think I was nice little Stevie? I was trying to get along. I was trying to be the band together, and kabam,
Yep.
sends that message that almost like I wish I had never met you people, you know.
Right. Yep.
And like you said, had to have Goldust Woman on the album, right?
Oh
Absolutely.
yeah. Hmm.
Right. And again, this is now her declaring independence in a bit, and
Right.
going back to the sorcerer and dreams, this is who I am. This is my, you know, my vocabulary is failing me, but like this is my modus operandi. This is my style. This is my aesthetic, this ethereal, person.
Yeah.
And we talked about during the Rumours album, like the breaking the glass and all that stuff. Yes, I can be gentle, sweet dream Stevie. However, you know, and then I decided in my fantasy world, the Chain collaboration was all done on the Fleetwood Mac side.
Okay.
But she got the agreement that it couldn't be on the album and that it had to be deleted and never released. And so she defiantly put her solo version on this album to close it.
Okay.
So the whole album is to
Right.
to
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
this, but it
And it really
showcases her
is.
talent and versatility along the way.
Well, I love side B. I love that you put Blue Lamp on there. And it is fun and playful and joyous. And I think that that is definitely something, a moment that's needed. My
Palette
forward,
cleanser.
yeah, yeah. My happier or like positive song was Sleeping Angel. And it's a beautiful song, but it doesn't, it's not upbeat. And that's one thing that, given the parameters I gave myself, I was a little, I think my track listing doesn't have enough upbeat songs. I am so, to me, it's really interesting to see Goldust Woman anywhere on a track list that's not the album closer. Because to me, that's
Yeah.
one part of my brain that I just can't wrap my head around.
Yeah, I agree. And that's why I put it near the end, but I thought it set up the idea of the chain really well. And I didn't think the opposite would work as well. You
Yeah,
know, it is the album closer. The chain is a period at the end of the sentence.
I
You
can see
know,
that. I can definitely see that. Um, and I think you're right. I think she would have done something like that. I like that little bit about the Fleetwood Mac recording being put away and that nobody can release it
yeah,
and it's just in a vault somewhere.
right. You're not putting
But
that on a reissue. You're not putting it in the greatest hits.
no,
You're not,
no,
no,
no.
you know,
So interestingly enough, when I first put my track list together, it actually had two other tracks on there
okay.
because I wasn't considering the time constraints. So I went ahead and put "I Don't Want to Know" on there because it was on Rumors and it was a Stevie Nicks composition, uh, and and
Yeah.
and I think she would have reclaimed it if she was also able to put
Okay.
Silver Springs on it because it's a good song.
That
It's
makes
a,
sense. Yeah,
yeah,
I didn't put it because I I felt like maybe she'd be like, well, they forced me to do that, and it's sullied
yeah,
or you know.
yeah. I no,
But
I
you
get
make more
that.
sense.
But the other track that I put on there was that version of "Oh Daddy" with Christine and Stevie
Oh,
duetting,
okay.
And in my original Rolling Stone article, I even had this whole thing of like Christine McVie quietly slips into the studio to record one track with her true friend Stevie, and no
Oh,
hard
okay. Oh, cool.
feelings, right? Um, but then I thought two things. I had to take some stuff off for the running order, and I think that would have diluted her declaration of independence for her first album. And I think you're right. They would like, I could see them working together on a follow up album or something like that, but maybe not for this particular album talking about.
What were your first, second, and third singles
Well,
that you released?
the first single again, Silver Springs, and that is all totally marketing. Like it that
Okay.
Warner is like that is that album title. It is going on the radio. We are going to do press around this. I mean, she is going to really like you know give
Okay.
tell that message. So that's the lead single for me. What is the lead single for you? And I think I already know.
Dreams.
Yeah.
It's Dreams.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can put up on the screen. I made single cover art for Dreams for all three of my singles.
Okay.
If you want to take a peek at it.
Ooh, I
Because
that's some
I thought,
cleavage.
well, I've thought back to Buckingham Nicks, right? And this is an actual photo of
Yeah.
her from back then. I figure if
Hmm.
she's willing to take this picture and they were going to force her to take her top off for Buckingham Nicks, and now she's like, I've got to establish myself, right? Okay, I'm
Hmm.
going to bring out the girls just this once. My first single, right? And it's a killer song, right? So
Yeah.
I figured the 1-2 hit of this killer song and, this picture might make it a big hit, and it's important to her to establish herself as a credible solo artist. She got this number one again somehow, bam,
Yeah.
she's golden. So that was my thought for why Dreams and why this art. And it's a pretty picture and I love the outfit and I think it goes with the song, you know.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Or do you think it's too much cleavage and she would but she took this picture. This is not AI. This is an actual photo.
So that the whole wait, the whole thing is a picture of her. I just thought maybe you uh took a face picture and then kind of um
No, I did well, I found
wow,
it on
okay.
someone's board.
Okay. Wow. Um I it was a little shocking to me just because I'm
It's
not.
subtle though. I mean, she's not like
Yeah.
this. For
Yeah.
her, that's a lot. For a lot
It
of
is a
artists
lot.
back then, it's very tame. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just, I when I saw it, I was like, whoa. And I was like, okay, maybe she's
Yeah.
just like,
Okay. I mean,
if you
we're in
got
an
it, use
alternate
it.
universe. Yeah.
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 Okay.
Well, she's not going
So
to lean into that for everyone, but yeah, for this
no,
one, for
no.
coming out, I'm coming out
Right?
the door. I'm running as fast as I can.
Well, she definitely did it. She came out the door,
And the pretty
tatas
colors
first.
and the fabric is it's very much her style, except for the amount of cleavage. You know.
Yes, it is. It is. Um, yeah, okay. So that's funny, that Dreams is your first single because Dreams would have been my second single. Um,
Okay.
after the big push of Silver Springs, which I really, I just think that Warner's would have really run with that. It was such a
I
golden
agree. I
marketing
agree.
opportunity.
But
So,
I put Silver Spring second for
all
that
right.
reason. I figure one establishes Stevie as Stevie, and then two, then brings in the whole Mac situation. She's not just about what happened with Fleetwood Mac,
Yeah. Uh,
So it's like introduce her and then milk the drama.
right. And
So
I
you can
love the
you can see
photo that you chose
which
for
is
the
like your album cover,
cover. Yeah.
very much like
Yeah.
your album cover,
Yeah. It is.
you know.
And I almost used that photo for the
You
album
did, wow.
cover.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Well, this one is my third single is Sorcerer. This album art, I found a picture of her, but it was so small
Okay.
that the resolution was bad. So I used the AI to punch it up and it put somebody else's face there.
It
But
did.
it
I was
is
about to
actually a
say
photo of her.
she's
It
had
was a
some
photo of
more.
her, I swear.
No, I
And I
believe you
just
because
like,
I've seen this photo. So I know which
okay.
photo that you're
So
talking
yeah,
about.
AI decided to give her a whole new face when it boosted the resolution of the photo so it wouldn't be pixelated. And so, I mean, maybe it's too on the nose for the
Uh,
song,
uh-uh.
but also
Uh-uh.
in a way, it's like it evokes Bewitched Samantha Stevens, which I loved so much. And I don't know
Right.
if other people would love that or hate it and think it's corny. So again, like if Dreams is going to be like, this is who Stevie Nicks is, and Silver Springs is going to be like, don't mess with her. Look what happened when Fleetwood Mac messed with her. And
Yeah.
three is now, leaning into her persona. You know what I mean?
Yes.
There's a lot more of
Mhm.
this coming, people, you know.
So my question about Sorcerer is, and I forgot to ask you earlier, does it sound more like the Trouble in Shangri-La version, or does it sound more like when Marilyn Martin, our good friend Minnie, recorded it for Streets of Fire in '84, and it was very like mysterious and mystical
It's
and
more like
stuff.
Marilyn Martin, but of course it's
Okay,
now Stevie with Prince on the scene.
right, exactly, right. So if Prince had recorded
And Chance the
Stevie's
Rapper
version
traveled
of the
through time for a
right,
feature. Yeah.
okay, okay. Um, okay. Well, I like that, and I love that you included Sorcerer because my third single would have been "Smile at You" because I think Stevie
Okay.
would have just been like really punching to get back at because "Go Your Own Way" would have been released and it would have done
Yeah.
well, and then
I think Silver Spring sent that mean message. I wouldn't want her to be seen as like a one trick, everything's about hating on, you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah,
Like
I can see
certain
that.
pop star princesses at this moment.
It's just Randy wanting people to understand the genius of
Yeah.
"Smile at You" is what's happening right
So
now.
yeah, sure. In my world, those three singles perform incredibly well,
Hmm.
and then they get a fourth one, and it's Blue Lamp.
Oh, Blue Lamp would be awesome.
But I didn't do album art for Blue Lamp.
Yeah.
And again, I evoked the Stevie Nicks Temporal Inclusion Act. Thank you so much.
Approved. So approved. So, real quick, what do you think happened to Fleetwood Mac? After they did
I
put out
think
rumors, it
I
was
think
fine.
Rumors did as well as the White Album, you know,
Hmm.
and I wouldn't be surprised if they tried like they had in the future to
Hmm.
find a Stevie
Hmm.
and that it wouldn't work,
Sure.
as well at least. I I think it would have been like not until maybe after Rock a Little, she might have been like, I'll think about collaborating with them again. You know, she would want to, but I don't know if she would, if her albums were doing that well, especially if, when they did just have chance conversations.
Hmm.
Lindsey Buckingham was the butthead we know he is.
Right.
And she'd be like, no, that's okay. I'm good.
Yeah. I think
By
I
the
think
dance, probably, hey, let's do a
maybe.
reunion tour. She'd be sentimental. She'd said everything she wanted to say and so much more in her own solo work, proving herself like, you need me more than I need you, you know.
I think there's a lot of truth to that. And I don't think so in this timeline, she would have only have recorded one album with Fleetwood Mac, truly. And so
Correct.
and so I don't think that she would have ever gone back to them. I think
Well,
the
I think they
songs,
would have wanted her to, right? Because she would have been successful and they would have kept asking. And then fans probably would have been like, wow, I wonder what would have happened if she hadn't left that band. So I think
I
after decades, maybe there'd be some, you know, conversation about it. And again, on her terms to make her money. And she
maybe
loved being
for
in a band. She wanted to be in a band. They
yeah,
messed it up.
yeah,
Or maybe
but
she'd find a new band, Randy. Maybe she'd make a new one. Yeah,
yeah. I think she would have just went ahead and stayed away from Fleetwood Mac, and I think Fleetwood
I think
Mac would have
so.
stayed away from
You
her.
don't think Christine would have been like, come on, girl?
No, but I do
No.
think would have happened because I think two things would have happened in Fleetwood Mac. Number one, Lindsay wouldn't have had Stevie to fight with over so much, so he would have eventually exerted even more control over the band production wise. And I think that
Mhm.
they would have Christine would have had more contributions to each album, so she would have been the female foil for Lindsay, and it would have been a lot more playful and a lot less antagonistic. And I think that
Mhm.
Fleetwood Mac would have gone on and been okay. And I think they would have been,
See,
like
I
you
don't
said,
know. I don't agree. I
I
don't
think
agree.
they
I
would
don't
have.
know if Christine would want that role
I don't know that she would
or
either.
sanction that role existing because, she's not a shrinking violet. I don't know if she calls herself a feminist, but she was, and to try to paint the only other woman in the band in that way, I don't know if she would, but then like, fuck that shit, you know?
Well, I don't think that. No, I think she would have just naturally gravitated to that because she and Lindsay actually spoke a mutual musical language. So I think you would have seen a lot more collaboration between them. And I think it
Oh
would
yeah,
have,
collaboration, but you said a foil. That's the word I'm reacting to.
okay, well,
He
just,
would be her foil. And I don't think she'd be
yeah,
like, no, I'd be like, no, that's okay.
no, no. But they would have been able to play off of each other in a much different dynamic in the band,
Okay.
and I really think Stevie would have a lot of the songs that she wrote for that were included in Fleetwood Mac albums would have just eventually landed on her
Right.
solo albums, and her solo output
Right.
would be so much more because she wouldn't have to
Right.
take
Right.
breaks to
There's an
record Fleetwood
album
Mac.
between there's an album between Belladonna and The Wild Heart with Gypsy on it. Yeah.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So, and I think they, maybe would have done a one-off performance for a benefit or something, or like Fleetwood Mac would be performing in Stevie's hometown, and she comes out and she sings like, I don't know, Landslide, and
See, I
everybody
don't
goes,
think so. At least I don't think so for like 20 years.
yeah, oh yeah, it would be
Yeah.
years and years later,
Yeah.
but
But I do
yeah,
think her and Chris would talk once in a while, see each other,
hmm
hang out, and she'd be like, "Oh, it'd be so nice if we could work together again." And Stevie'd be like, "No, that's okay. I just."
yeah, I'm
And then
done.
eventually she'd be like, "You know what? Let's do it." But then I said this as a throwaway comment earlier. Maybe that whole thing that she loves about having this solo outlet and being part of a group, maybe she would have started her own band with some
Maybe,
other folks, you
maybe
know?
it's possible.
Because
I
she likes
think
being a band person. She
she
likes being
does. She
collaborative like
does.
that?
I think um, at that point the record executives get involved and they see her as kind of like this cash cow of like touring album, touring album,
Yeah.
and she gets to the point where she doesn't have time for that kind of side
Yeah, but she
hustle.
would have been the Madonna before Madonna, and she would have been like, no, I did my 4 record deal, and now it's on my terms, mofos. And
No.
then she would have made her band and she would have called it Meat Flood Whack. That's it.
Wow. Well, I have to say, this was a really fun exercise to do this and
Yeah,
put
it
this
was.
together. So yeah, we will, especially on YouTube, we'll put both track lists up uh, because some of mine aren't commercially available, so I can't put that on
Okay.
Spotify or Apple Music.
I'll share my Spotify link with you too, and we'll put that some
Yeah, yeah,
in the
for
listing for
sure.
this post when we put it up.
And I promise for this that I'm going to post that entire Rolling Stone article, the pretend one, up on our blog with the album
Okay.
art, all of the album art that we've come up with
Okay.
between the two of us. Uh, and I would really like to know what our listeners think. What
Yeah.
would your Stevie solo album in 1977
Right.
slash 78
What
sound?
what tracks did we pick? Except you're not
Right.
allowed to talk about Blue Lamp. Do you
Right.
think, don't make sense? Or
Or
what did we
did she
miss?
go
Right.
what did she become a disco queen? I mean, 78, come on. Let's
Well, see,
let
that's also why I liked Blue Lamp on here is it's kind of got that new wavy kind of edge that I think
yeah.
also influenced Stand Back, right? So
Yeah.
it's showing her as a leader,
Right.
you know?
Right. She's a trailblazer. That's what she
That's
is.
right.
All
That's
right.
right.
Well, do you have anything else to add before we wrap this
No,
up?
it was a very fun exercise, and I hope folks enjoy this.
Me too. Me too. I am real interested to see how this episode plays because we are, folks, setting up a run of some really exciting episodes to come up over the next few months that are we can't talk about yet, but we are both so excited about. So, all right, Anthony. Until next time.
We will see you all on the other side of the mirror.
Well, all right, said Alice.
Peace.